Hey, what you doing? So, popular opinion says that I should, that I always do and have done for years, outside as I'm checking on the animals. I didn't realize that Poppy here, my pregnant goat that I told you about on podcast, is wandering around. So we're gonna have to go find a space for her. So I'm in the goat. What do you think, Poppy? Should we have tea on Instagram Live? Actually, I'm not going to have a teacup though, because, hey, you doing okay? You okay? This gal's a few months pregnant, so I'm always checking on her more than I normally do. Okay, so let's go. Come. Hey. So, instead of having tea, if I were having tea, I would have a cup of Rooibos. I switched from a couple cups of coffee in the morning to Rooibos tea or something like that. You coming with me? Yeah, she's still coming. And I thought that how interesting that I was choosing a South African tea. I know it as a South African tea. This morning I released a podcast episode with Charlotte Jones, and she's from South Africa. Her and I were talking about many things related to homeschooling. She's got 2 neurodiverse twin boys. I think they're 7 years of age, and also happens to be a working homeschool mom as well. Well, this is going to be tricky. You know, you're in the Canadian wildlife when there are trees everywhere. Hey, girls. Okay. Step over this. And so her and I were talking about what life is like in South Africa, and I'm meeting all these very cool people, all of you cool people that live in cool places around the world, like Bermuda, South Africa, Italy, Croatia, one person from Azerbaijan. Who knew? Did not know that was a thing there. Hey, girls. And I think we should just appoint those people the homeschool co-op leaders for next week, because how cool would that field trip be to go to Bermuda? I will be the homeschool helper, no problem, if I get to go to Bermuda. Let me know. So what I was thinking is, so I was talking about time audits and time blocking and teaching time blocking, time audits to homeschooled kids. And obviously as homeschool parents, we could really use that as a tool. And so Charlotte and I were talking about that, and also talking about how elephants do not actually roam the streets of South Africa. And I knew that. She doesn't know this, or I don't recall telling her this, but I have actually traveled to rural Africa twice, and I have only seen elephants in game parks. And other stereotypes for myself are that things that were kind of demolished, I would say, is this notion of Africa being very rural and small. Why do we think of it as smaller? There's a lot of people, and it's a very large continent with a lot of countries. And not a lot of Africans roaming the streets. But it was a very interesting conversation to chat with Charlotte. She has a lagoon not far from her backyard. I've got a river. Might take you to see that. And also the ocean, obviously, not very far away. And the thing they have more issues with is actually sharks. So, let's see here. I was going to tell you about the book club in the next couple days. The book club is a Charlotte Mason-based book. I don't know if you've heard of Modern Miss Mason, and if you haven't, I encourage you to read that book, because whether you love Charlotte Mason, that philosophy, or whether you have, set on some other different philosophy or something else that you're interested in, Leah Boden has such a beautiful book. It's just a homeschool mom book, an encouraging book, but beautiful prose. I've shared a few of the quotes in Reels, and you'll probably see them tomorrow morning as well. But she has 3 sections in that book. One is about motherhood. Another one is on parenting and children, and also on what an education is and how people learn. And she writes things so beautifully. Her stories are also applicable. They're useful. whether you're a Charlotte Mason homeschool mom or not. You know, the people that said I should definitely do this outside, I gotta say, this is rather loud, wouldn't you say? Aren't you wondering what the goats are doing behind me as I'm talking with you? Can't say it's not action, though. Action on the farm in Canada, in the Canadian mountains. Yeah, it is. But if you want to talk about Leah Boden's book, about motherhood and parenting and what an education is, just join us on Thursday. You do not have to have written or read the book. I know what kind of busy lives you lead because I was doing what you're doing for many years. And I am most definitely not living the same life. I'm a homeschool working mom. In fact, I'm working my way out of homeschooling. But I'll share a little bit more about that in the upcoming weeks as well. In the next, tomorrow actually, I'm going to be offering a free mini retreat for you if you're interested. It is for homeschool moms that are just needing a refresher. We can go at that discussion. It's a 4-week retreat designed for homeschool moms. The very first thing that I ever offered as a homeschool life coach was a retreat. And it really comes in 4 different sections, but I'm happy to tailor that retreat for whatever scenario you're in. So if you want to connect with me tomorrow, you can register for a Zoom link for the mini retreat for homeschool moms. And I'll share a little bit more about the retreat tomorrow. And I am going to offer you a download, which is called Living Your Life on Purpose. And if you've seen it before, then you will recognize that it's not the same. Just before you and I got on to have tea out in the Canadian wilderness, dog barking in the background. Could this be a more authentic live? I'm not sure I'm doing it again. Too much noise. But it's called Living Your Life on Purpose. And it is not just about homeschooling. Everyone talks about being purposeful in our homeschools, that we are going to live our lives on purpose by deciding what our why is as homeschoolers. And I think that's valuable. I think it's a buzzword because of Simon Sinek's book, Know Your Why. That kind of built on that over the years. And I think it's valuable for us to consider why we're doing what we're doing, because what your why is informing how you're doing your life. And it matters. And we need to regularly assess it. But I think the why isn't as important as the how. But the how of what we're doing is informed by the why. So we have to know why we're doing it, because the how is influencing our practical experience of our homeschool lives and our kids too. In that Living Your Life on Purpose checklist, I also talk about how to become more you. Something that I think is a staple as a homeschool mom is to actually recognize the you that is beyond you. Who are you outside of your homeschool mom role? If you were like me, you didn't have any clarity of that before you were homeschooling. And even if you are someone that had clarity before you homeschooled, there is such a demanding nature of parenting, but especially homeschool mom parenting. There's just so much going on, so many little voices, so many things to be concerned about or wondering about or spending our mental space on, that we really aren't spending time thinking about what would refresh us, or how's this one? What am I going to do after I stop homeschooling? You could homeschool the neighbors, or as some do, you could homeschool the grandkids. And I will for a few weeks every year when my kids take me to the Bahamas so I can look after my grandchildren. But if you aren't intending to homeschool beyond your children, then ask yourself, what am I going to do after I'm done homeschooling? Who am I beyond my homeschool mom role? So I discussed that in the Living Your Life on Purpose checklist. I think that we, as one of the things that we can do to live our lives, our homeschool lives on purpose, it's to determine to be more proactive instead of reactive. This is a long-term goal. and not an easy thing to achieve. Our level of reactivity as humans before we entered parenting will, let's say, clarify. We clarify our reactivity, or we get a lot clearer on our reactivity because we have many more opportunities to experience it. And as homeschool parents, we have even many more opportunities to experience it. Just today, I think in the stories of Instagram, I've put a graphic showing the Self-Compassion for Homeschool Moms course, which has been eagerly received by a bunch of people over the last 2 months. Someone asked me yesterday how to address myself and the stories that I tell myself. And I think self-compassion techniques are a way for us to address our stories as homeschool moms so that we can attend to our own needs, our own emotional needs, and get more curious about why we're triggered by certain things, or why we share in our minds. We tell ourselves the stories that we do. And I think that's a long-term process. I think there's nothing simple about it, but it is a way of nurturing the nurturer. I think it's a really important tool for every human. So check out the self-compassion course that I share in the stories. But remember, if we want to live our lives on purpose, we want to be proactive and not reactive. So we have to come up with a plan to address our emotional regulation. And frankly, just to feel more alive again. So check out the Live Your Life on Purpose checklist in the link in my bio. And everything is quiet. It's quiet now. That was real life in my part of the woods, my literal part of the woods. So I'm going to offer this retreat over the next few weeks, and I wish one day that it will work out so that I can actually have the retreat in my own backyard. Can you see this here? This is an island right beside my home, and we could canoe out to the island or swim out to the island. We could tent off-grid essentially for an overnight and canoe and all sorts of things here in the mountains of British Columbia. But since we can't do that yet, if you'd like to join me in a retreat, check out the free mini retreat tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The registration link is in my bio, or you can always type retreat and I can get you the link. I hope you have a great day.